Hello, Ori and the Blind Forest fans. So we've got a nice couple of matches for you today coming up, and I'm super excited because not only do I get to commentate the first match of today, but also I get to commentate the second to last match of my group, Sorrow Pass. I'm Jay Hobbs. I am joined here with Grimelios. Grimelios, can you tell us more about this match coming up?
I can. Hi, everyone. So the match we have coming up, as Hobbs mentioned, is in the Sorrow Pass group, which Hobbs is a part of. It's between Chicken Supreme and Snoopy and MKWii, who we just call Snoopy for short. We can, I guess, go into all the details of these runners now, or we can get into it kind of as they get started here. The high points are that these runners are pretty similar in a lot of ways. They're both keyboard mouse runners, so we don't kind of have those potential differences between controller and KBM. They're both going to be running with 4 HP. Again, not rare by any stretch. Vast majority of runners are going with 4 HP. Fewer are going for 5 or 3, but most are 4. And they're both going to be going for Kuro cutscene skip when they get to that point in the run.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things I'm really excited about for this match is that these runners' PBs aren't that far off. Chicken's PB is currently sitting at a 37.57, which is a lot lower than his PB was at seeding, which was a 41.51. It's his last race in the tournament, and for Snoopy, his PB is sitting at a 40.42, which is the same as his race average because he's only had one race so far, and he PB'd in the race. And not only that, but Snoopy PB'd in his race against me and actually almost upset me. He actually almost took that match from me. So yeah, I'm really excited to see if he can put on a similar performance today, maybe even give us another race PB and potentially upset in this match because he definitely looked very good in the last one.
That was certainly very, very exciting. Based on what our truck is telling us, as always, shout outs in advance to the truck. Snoopy, with a slightly worse PB, he's just over the 40-minute mark. And as we've mentioned a few times in this tournament, sort of aiming for that sub 40 is a nice Ori milestone and something that is not easy by any stretch, but it is much easier to PB and get a sub 40 than it is to, improve a 34-minute time or something like that. So it is entirely easily within the realm of possibility that we could see a PB from one or both of these guys. It'll certainly be exciting. And the two runners are close enough that even though Chicken's PB is a little bit better, anything could happen. Just one or two bad deaths could turn this in either direction. And it looks like we are just about to get going here.
Yeah, we've got them started on SRL. We're going to be getting the scenes all sorted out for you guys, and we should be seeing it live in a moment. And it's looking like we'll have Chicken Supreme on the left, SnoopyMKWii on the right. Chicken getting the early delay lead, but we'll be pausing him up and resyncing these guys.
That'll make the difference.
Moment.
He'll win by 5 seconds.
There's that 5 seconds of delay from being in a different location. But no, this is gonna be great. One of the cool things about this match, as Grim mentioned, is one of the runners comes to us from controller and the other comes from keyboard. That will be Chicken Supreme on the keyboard and SnoopyMKWii on controller. And one of the things I find interesting about that is that SnoopyMKWii is actually a tasser. He actually helps with tool-assisted speedruns a lot. And what surprises me about him using controller is that for a task, you're often putting in all the inputs manually and generally doing that on a computer screen. So it's kind of cool that he ends up finding controller more comfortable than, say, the natural keyboard mouse.
I think he is actually playing on KBM according to the spreadsheet. You might have glanced at the wrong spot.
I might have glanced at the wrong line. I did glance at the wrong line. I was looking at that. My mistake.
That is okay. Just so we're clear.
There we go. Well, that's okay. It looks like Snoopy, a little bit of a delay getting signed, but only going to cost him a second or two. And he should be fine, potentially able to catch up on his way to wall jump.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting to see tiny little differences. Early game, you can only run and jump. You have such few possibilities for your movement that, on the one hand, it can be sort of difficult because if you make mistakes, you don't really have a lot of ways to recover. You don't have feather or double jump. You can't bash off of enemies or anything like that. On the other hand, in a way kind of makes it easier. Like, you don't usually see very many differences getting up to sign, and even minor differences getting to wall jump, just because there's sort of a correct way to do it. There isn't as much variety because you don't have as many movements options. That's not to say that you can't make mistakes. My 507 wall jump tells you all about the kind of mistakes you can make, but usually it's a pretty comfortable split with just minor differences getting to wall jump.
Yeah, one of the things too that I think I've been noticing throughout this tournament is, you know, we brought it up many times. We expected to see a lot more deaths on the way to wall jump or coming out of wall jump throughout this tournament because of how difficult this early glade section can be during your PB attempts. But one of the things that I've kind of noticed is it seems like a lot of the runners sitting around the 40-minute or so time actually have been kind of playing it a bit more safe throughout glades. They've been, if they ever take any damage, they kind of like will kill extra slimes or something. They'll take it a lot safer. Whereas the top runners have actually been kind of potentially making some more mistakes there because they're so used to just going, and if they come up with some kind of issue, then they reset. And so it's kind of cool. Snoopy having a bit cleaner play, by the way, and has taken back, well, had a bit of a hiccup with a jump there, and is now a little bit behind again, but he's certainly right in the running at the moment, and they're going to have very similar wall jump times, I think.
Yep, you'll see a timed level up coming up from both of these guys. You can level up on the way down or the way up. You usually level up on the way down, not only because it's more familiar, but the experiencer kind of tends to do that, but you can do it on the way up. They both leveled up successfully, no issues there, and they are very, very close coming into this. It looks like maybe a second, probably less. They're God, they're like frame for frame, at least on mine.
It's pretty close. Snoopy with the tiny advantage, which could even be the difference in delay.
Well, I was just going to say, it's kind of what you mentioned with safe strats. Like, I noticed very, very small things that might not be as noticeable from a casual perspective, but like chicken, there's that little drop in the elbow where you have to kind of take some shots, take out the little purple bramble, and then drop down, you know, in order to dodge the slimes. And chicken just waited like an extra second to make sure that the slime was far enough away, which is a perfectly good decision, but it let Snoopy catch up a second. You know, it's just these little minor things. I think it's kind of interesting. One of the things I've noticed about Ori, or I suppose any speed game, is you might look at someone's wall jump split that's very, very clean and think this is the best it can be, and then you look at someone else who has an 8-second faster time and you think, how is that possible? And it's nothing major. It's all these minor little tricks. You save a half second here and a quarter second there, and it kind of adds up. And that's how it is possible to get, you know, some of the fastest times that you have in the community.
Yeah, and just like that, as you were talking about it, Snoopy had just a lot cleaner movement coming on his way back out and is ahead by about 5 seconds already. And I mean, that's not something that's going to be a large difference, but it could potentially be indicative of Snoopy feeling good about this race. I know Chicken was very nervous. I'm not certain if the same can be said about Snoopy or not, but it's definitely got a very interesting potential. Snoopy did take an extra safety save there, though, so he will be reducing his lead by about 4 seconds or so there.
Always a relief to see runners get through this. It's not a difficult trick, but because it's so easy, like if you were to, in the worst case scenarios, buy the wrong skill or spend it a point early and have to watch the cutscene, it's kind of one of those minor early game things, even just similar to the wall jump split as a whole. It's really just a relief to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, Snoopy falling into the spikes is going to be taking a death there. It's not what you want to see. It's probably going to lose him about 20 seconds or more. You could tell from the swinging the mouse furiously that he wasn't too happy with himself there. That's the kind of easy death that's very possible in Black Group Burrows, and unfortunately not what you want to see before taking the safety save that we just saw Chicken on the left side.
No, and again, Snoopy did take the safety save, almost falling again. He saved it, so a good job by him there. These jumps are not as easy as they might appear. Snoopy is going into this section with full health, which is very, very nice. It, in a weird way, it was almost a negative. Well, never mind. It was a positive form there.
Yeah, that full health definitely just saved him there. Those spikes do 3 damage, and he has 4 health. He's gonna almost get sniped by that shot there, but Snoopy, please be careful. And there we go. It looks like he's through the minor jumping section there. Hopefully he doesn't get sniped by any of these lasers. Looks like he'll take the cycles nice and safe. And Yeah, I mean, he probably lost a few of the platform cycles here, but at least he didn't take another death there, which would have considerably set him back.
Snoopy seems to be playing very confidently, though. Like, that death is unfortunate, but nerves are always a factor, and I can't read minds. I can't speak to exactly how nervous Snoopy and Chicken are. You mentioned Chicken was certainly nervous going in. I'm sure Snoopy is as well. But I mean, even just jumping through that section was pretty ballsy. You didn't see him kind of playing it extra cautious just to make sure. He kind of, even with that death, just went for it. And I'll be really curious to see how that confidence kind of plays into it. Chicken kind of almost missed his jump there going up to the lever.
Yeah, that was very close. He cut those those jumps insanely tightly, and yeah, to go on what you were saying, I think maybe Snoopy just realizes that he does have the potential to upset here. Probably feels pretty confident about his first match, getting the nice PB and everything, and hopefully that's just leading into some confidence and letting him play a lot tighter. And he's really not that far behind anymore, and it's certainly something that he can catch up with.
Absolutely. I mean, generally speaking, besides that one unfortunate death, which was a time loss, but I mean, there's a lot of race left. Besides that, his movement has been very, very clean. Looks like a little bit cleaner than Chicken's, as Chicken's about to pick up Dash, and then Snoopy is right on his tail after this unskippable cutscene place. Is it possible to skip these cutscenes at all, by the way, or is it just that we can't skip it in this category? I'm curious.
I believe we can skip the cutscene, but unfortunately the dash tree remains unlockable until it finishes. So it's and by skip the cutscene, I mean we can let it play and gain control of Ori. But yeah, the dash tree doesn't activate, so there's unfortunately no reason for us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But they've both picked up Dash now, heading over to the Frankie Walk. This is where any kind of death could easily change the lead again. I wouldn't expect to see that here, but it is something that could potentially happen. Chicken having the lead, of course, and will be taking his first attempt at it.
God, this early game is so scary. If you lose to Frog Walk, or if you make it through the frog door, yeah, let's call it the frog door. If you make it through the frog door and then die in the gauntlet, you're all the way back to Dash, because as we've kind of covered in previous matches, the way that this trick works, your energy manipulation is vital, which means that you need both energy in order to put 2 in the door and then put 2 more in the door. You can't make any safety save. Now, it is possible that the frog, along with dropping experience, will drop an energy to get a safety save just before Death Gauntlet, but it's rare. It's a 10% chance that energy drops. And so, even though it is a very, very difficult section, it's also early in the run, which means that even for reset heavy runners, you've probably done this section a huge number of times, which obviously helps with consistency and not dying, but just another area that, from a viewing perspective or a running perspective, it's always a huge relief to get down into there.
Yeah, well, Chicken got through it very quickly, very well. It doesn't look like he'll be going for the early grotto cycle. No, he hasn't gone for it in his either races either. So it makes sense there. Snoopy managed to get through after a little bit of shaky play there. Had some trouble with the Frankie and then had a bit of trouble jumping over the water, but he's through now, and he'll be coming up to the early moon grotto cycle that I don't think we'll be seeing out of him either. He has not gone for it. Tournament average for the early grotto cycle is a 28% success rate, by the way. So it's not something that we're going to be seeing too often. Of course, it's always something you hope to see for the person that is currently behind, because it's a nice 8-second time save. But in the meantime, Chicken Supreme coming up to double jump and going to be doing some blind movement here.
He seems to have cleaned up his movement. I've still noticed very minor little safety strats, like, taking an extra second to kill a slime rather than trying to dodge his projectiles or something. But I mean, that was very clean movement, and that's and he's partially up the wall after his blind movement too. So he is.
Ooh, Snoopy, unfortunately having a bit more trouble with the same walls and takes some death to the spikes, but it looks like he's okay the second time, and does a nice little dash glide over the water there instead of kind of falling onto the middle platform. And it looks like he'll be going for the blind movement as well. Now has double jump. Chicken Supreme coming up on a grotto skip. His average for the tournament has been 2.5 attempts. And the tournament average is 2 attempts. So Chicken gonna go for 1 or 2 here to get under that average. And he nails it in 1 try. Absolutely fantastic from him. Snoopy has only had 1 race, as we mentioned, but he nailed grotto skip immediately in that race. And hopefully he can do the same here.
I like grotto skip. You don't usually get, completely pulverized by spikes or spiders or frogs or something. You just kind of do some nice jumping.
It's really nice to have a skip in the game that doesn't want to kill you.
I think it's nice to have any section that doesn't have Frogs.
Oh, Snoopy unfortunately not making it the first attempt. We'll go for a second one here. And still not going to make it that time. Third try. No, come on, Snoopy. He's going to make it in 4, I believe. And there it is. Awesome job from him to recover there.
There's sort of some minor variations you can do on that skip. The sort of traditional strat is you land on top of the little vertical wooden log and then jump towards it, but you can actually jump towards your grotto skip from the side, and it saves, a half second because you don't have to take the time to land on top of the platform. And that's what Snoopy went for. The issue is that sometimes walls in Ori are a little bit finicky, and you can't always wall jump off of every section of wall. It depends on the angle. And if you land a little bit too low on the grotto jump wall, you tend to just fall off, which loses you far more time than if you had just taken the time to jump up top. So it's sort of a small, risky strat you can take.
Absolutely. This race is getting a bit of a widening gap now, but it is still anybody's game because these early game deaths are not where you lose the most time. It's definitely in the late game. We'll have to keep an eye out. In the meantime, we're coming up to Ginso. Ginso is going to see some possibilities for lead change, but hopefully not too much. I don't think we mentioned yet that this match is actually pretty important for both these runners because due to the fact that we have 36 entrants in this tournament, we actually have a preliminary elimination round, or a prelimination round, as I accidentally coined it the other day.
That's clever. I like it.
Yeah, we have a nice prelimination round for 4 matches, so 8 runners before the 32-person bracket. And the 3rd seed of this group will get to avoid the prelimination round, whereas the 4th seed will be potentially in it. So this match does matter quite a bit because both these runners are vying for that 3rd seed position coming out of groups.
Definitely. Chicken with a decent little lead here. Snoopy is opting for push-in strats, I guess is what it's called, rather than pull-out strats. It is slightly faster to pull the rock out, as you saw Chicken do just a minute ago, but it's also very slightly risky because you're kind of moving the rock and pushing it around all these purple, spiky, swingy things, and that's dangerous. Pushing it in is a little bit safer. And Snoopy, I actually missed whether he maybe had a slight flub in his movement on the way up, but again, just sort of a small safety strat he opted to do there.
Yeah, he also took a safety save there. Not a bad idea. Chicken, unfortunately, falling in the second room of Ginso. He's going to have to take another attempt at that. And the kind of bad part about falling, other than the straight time loss, is that these cycles from all of these gamers here, they actually aren't all synced. That they don't all move at the same rate. So once you mess up once, the cycles are going to be completely off and something that you're definitely not used to. So you have to kind of take every single platform safer. And we can already see that Snoopy's caught up quite a bit just from that little mistake from Chicken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a small mistake from Chicken is going to let Snoopy catch up. Chicken is still ahead. Prior to Chicken's mistake, he was about 34 seconds ahead. So a nice lead on Snoopy, especially this early in the run. Certainly not out of the ballpark yet in terms of the possibility of making mistakes or whatever. Chicken did opt for a small safety save in the room that Snoopy's in now. Snoopy decided to just go for it, so that'll be another very, very minor time save. We'll see how the mini-boss goes. This mini-boss is one of the very few sources of RNG in the run. The boss can spawn in one of 5 locations in the room, and if you're unlucky, he takes sort of a longer period of time between spawns as opposed to a shorter period, although Chicken seems to be getting pretty good luck so far.
Yeah, and that longer difference between spawns is generally when you actually don't catch where the mini-boss is going to show up next. So the mini-boss has a 1-frame tell that if you don't have the correct options, or your computer isn't quite powerful enough or something, you may not even see it. I know I didn't for a very long time. And if you happen to catch that 1-frame tell, you can tell where the boss is going to spawn next. And missing that is unfortunately what can take you quite a bit of time and make you lose some seconds in this boss fight. Chicken had a pretty good one, though. Looks like Snoopy had potentially an even better one. And both are going to be moving on to Bash.
This is a good race so far. These runners went into this race with very similar, I guess, stats is the best word for it. Again, Chicken with a better PB, but very, very comparable runners. And you're seeing that in the race. Snoopy's on his way to Bash right now. We'll see if there's any problems in this room. The teleporter in this room is sort of infamous for being a little bit inconsistent, but we as a community have since come up with slightly better strats for it. Snoopy with a clean ghost door, Chicken also had a clean ghost door.
Oh, taking
And-
some damage though, but it looks like he managed to get around. He's gonna have to avoid a damage boost coming up on the way to the key duplication trick. Hopefully he keeps that in mind. I'm sure he will, but not exactly what you want to see. Snoopy potentially getting a chance to catch up again. He makes it cleanly over the gap that gave Chicken some trouble, and is really not far at all behind now. Looks like Chicken. Oh, almost. It looks like he almost wanted to go for that damage boost, but remembered at the last moment that he couldn't go for it. He has his UI on too, so he was able to reference that quickly to notice that he was at 1 health.
It's nice that he did notice that. Sometimes muscle memory can take over, even if you sort of remember in the moments, like maybe right after taking damage, you make a mental note, don't take damage. But then you get to the spot and you don't even think about it. That can be a frustrating source of time loss.
Absolutely. Snoopy having a bit more trouble with the keystones. I didn't quite catch it, but I think Chicken Supreme got his key dupe fine. Snoopy unfortunately misses it. If you die too far left from that door, you can't actually duplicate these keys, and that's going to be a pretty significant time loss for him. Not what you want to see when he was starting to narrow that gap, but Chicken gets through with no problem. He'll be making his way up to core skip after another mini boss.
All right, Snoopy got it that time. That was still a bit close. The window for getting that key dupe is pretty precise. You have to die on the as far right on those spikes as you possibly can. Chicken actually took a quick death to this mini boss. I think he accidentally fell in the spikes, probably because he's at low health yet from the well, I guess he didn't actually damage boost because he had already taken the damage before, but he was at low health going into the ghost door.
Yeah,
so that's going to let Snoopy catch up actually a decent little bit. He's pretty close now.
Yeah, Chicken's death to the mini boss was further in than you would want to hope for, and it looks like Snoopy caught up a lot of the time that he lost from that key duplication death.
He did a nice little double bash at the end of his mini boss, which saves a tiny bit of time, plus it looks swaggy, and that's worth some time in our hearts.
Chicken going for the core skip now. He's manipulated his experience perfectly, so he gets the nice level up. He also threw the Frankie out of the way, so I wonder if he's been having some trouble with that Frankie in his runs. Looks like, unfortunately, Snoopy made a slight mistake and destroyed his frog with that shot instead of blowing up the wall, and he's going to have to take a second attempt at it. Great safety save from him right before it. One that is commonly used by runners just because it is easy to mess up this trick due to very minor details. Looks like he's now, unfortunately bashing in the wrong direction. It's going to set all the experience a lot further away than he wants, and I don't think he's going to be able to salvage this one. He's going to keep trying, but yeah, the explosion is way too far away. So Snoopy going to have to take another death there. Not what you want to see at all when this race was just starting to come back.
No, I wonder if any of this has to do with nerves. Core skip is something that can be messed up, just like any of the tricks in this game, but it's one that is generally pretty consistent, especially because the trick's been around in an almost unchanged form, minor optimizations, but an almost unchanged form for quite a while, since like the earliest days of Ori. So usually you can just sort of rely on your muscle memory. It's a frustrating place to lose time, and I wonder how much nerves factor into that.
Yeah, it looks like third try is the charm for Snoopy, though. He managed to get it. There's now about a minute and a 5-second difference between these runners. So unfortunately losing up to about 50 seconds or so there for Snoopy, and having a bit of trouble with escape too. He's going to take some damage on his way across to the teleporter, but yeah, at least makes it through. He'll have to be a bit careful now, sitting at, I believe, 2 health for the rest of this escape. And it's certainly one that's pretty easy to take damage in.
Absolutely it is. To emphasize again, the water in this escape sequence rubber bands too, so even the fastest runners will always have the water right on their tail. It sort of rubber bands in your favor as well, though. Like, as you could see, the water was right on Snoopy's tail, and it still kind of slowed down enough for him to land. You kind of have to make, I don't know, it almost seems like 2 mistakes in order to die. You can usually kind of hit it once and still land on something. Chicken on the left side has picked up Stomp, so he's going to be on his way to Drainless, while Snoopy has successfully escaped from the perilous Ginso escape sequence.
Yeah, good job by him there to be able to salvage his health and make his way out again, so that gave him just unfortunately quite a bit of trouble. I don't think we'll be seeing any problems with Drainless out of these runners. Again, they're going to be stomping this floor, I guess, the stomping these breakable rocks underneath the water by setting up a stomp, using a trick called save dropping, and there it is for Chicken. Both runners are coming up on Kuro cutscene skip pretty soon. Neither of them have gotten it in the tournament yet, which means Chicken's taken at least 2 attempts at it. Snoopy is apparently talking in our Twitch channel and is a little unhappy with how that core skip went for him. So hopefully he could shake those nerves off, though.
So I was thinking, Chicken on the left side did not make a safety save after breaking a barrier past the drainless skip, and he took damage. So we'll see how this goes. All right, he has a safety save. He's safe. Ordinarily, runners will make a safety save shortly after drainless because it doesn't really cost you anything in terms of energy. Getting the cutscene skip, though, that was very nice.
Yeah, that was beautiful from Chicken. I'm sure he'll be happy to get that after missing it the first 2 attempts in the tournament. And he's just powering through now. We'll see if he goes for the 5th energy. He decides not to, so only 4 energy we'll be seeing out of Chicken this run. Snoopy finishing drainless beautifully, and he'll be making his way to the Kuro cutscene skip shortly. And if he also gets it, then you're probably not even going to be able to tell anything happened.
Turns out we were just making it up, and there is no cutscene. All this time we've just been hyping up a fake trick.
Of course. Chicken coming up to charge flame now, and we'll see Snoopy's attempt here shortly. But yeah, like you were saying, Chicken not taking some kind of more ordinary safety saves that don't generally lose you time. So I wonder if that was a mistake or something that has just shown that he's a bit more confident now. Snoopy's position, unfortunately, was a bit too far to the right, and Snoopy watching the Kuro cutscene. Looks like Chicken managing to save probably about 15 to 18 seconds or so from that alone.
And he already had a pretty sizable lead.
Yes, he did. And we'll be coming up to the one of the trickier areas where your movement really starts to matter, and that is Valley of the Wind. Chicken's not going to be going for fast stompless, I don't think, unless I'm mistaken, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. He has PB'd since the tournament began, and maybe it's something that he's involved in his repertoire now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Chicken certainly seems to have cleaned up his movement from the early game. It wasn't messy in the early game, it just wasn't incredibly precise. Looked like nerves are taking over more than anything else, but he's been playing very, very cleanly. He seems to be solidifying his lead even more, even besides the Kuro cutscene skip.
Definitely, but we are coming up to some of the harder areas of the game. This is certainly where the lead can change very quickly. Snoopy got a bit trolled by Frankie, but managed to deal with it, and Chicken takes a safety save on his way to Valley, so even if we do end up seeing fast stompless from him, he'll have to be taking a save at the teleporter. Looks like we won't be seeing the fast stompless. He's instead going to bait the spider shots and pick up his ability cell early, giving Snoopy a potential chance to catch up if he wants, but I don't think we'll actually be seeing the trick out of him either.
This is an interesting point in the run for Snoopy because, like any runner, he's now faced with a choice. He excuse me. He has to know that he's behind. I doubt that either of these runners are watching each other. That's most runners don't, for obvious reasons. It's sort of a nerve thing. But Snoopy knows he's behind, so he could risk taking fast stopless and potentially catch up, or he could lose him a huge amount of time.
Yeah, I think in a situation like this, it's going to come down to comfort, and Snoopy does not ordinarily go for it, as far as I know. And so I don't think we'll be seeing it out of him. Oh, excuse me. I think I caught whatever you were just having problems with.
I coughed it through the mic. I apologize.
Of course. Oh, man. Catching bugs through the internet. Mm-hmm. Chicken will be coming up to Sorrow Bash now after picking up the feather. Snoopy on the right, not going for fast stompless as expected. So not really going to be catching up any time there, but hopefully can stick with some clean movement. He levels up Charge Dash early, actually, so he will be getting a little bit of time saved ever so slightly from Charge Dashing some of these spiders. Oh man, taking some damage though. Chicken on the left coming up to Sorrow Bash. He has taken 2.5 attempts at it as his average in the tournament so far. We'll have to see how it goes for him here. He does have that save at the top that he gets to rekindle though, which does help him out a little bit. And he's double bashed the bird, looks pretty good. Gonna be air dashing. That bird is a little far to the left, but he managed to make it through, no problem.
Nice job.
I hope that he can get to his first safety save, if one exists, in Sorrow without any issues. Snoopy, not too far behind, will be taking his chance next.
Sorrow passes, it has to be the biggest sequence break in the run, right? I mean, it's a much bigger time save than Frog Walk. It skips all of Forlorn Ruins and allows you to even though you do still go through Misty Woods, you're supposed to go through Misty Woods without charge jump. And so having charge jump and charge dash and everything and rocket jumps, oh my goodness, it just goes so fast. If you were to do Misty the intended way, it takes so much longer.
Yeah, definitely. And Snoopy now taking his attempt. Chicken Supreme taking an intentional death there to reset the frog's health. But Snoopy on the right, we're going to take a look. Looks like he has gone for it. He has taken 2 attempts in the past. And this is his first attempt now, but he's having some trouble getting the double bash trick. It is frame perfect, but there are some setups on keyboard and mouse that make it a bit easier. That bird is very low on health now, though, so I wonder if he's still going to be able to make this work for him. Bird's very low. He's going to try to bash him up, and unfortunately not quite able to make it work for him. He's going to be taking a second attempt now as Chicken is racing through Sorrow. Very cleanly has made a rocket jump up to the top and will be grabbing the Sunstone momentarily. Snoopy, unfortunately, just having a lot of trouble with that first double bash, it seems.
Man, very happy, of course, to see Chicken have a clean Sorrow Bash. It's not like I want anyone to make mistakes, but from Snoopy's perspective, oh no, taking him to death.
That's unfortunately going to put him behind the tournament average, which is a basically 2 attempts at Sorrow Bash. And this is going to be Snoopy's third. He's looking a bit more confident on this one. Ooh, wow, has to do a nice adjustment there because I think he was going for a double bash, but he managed to get the charge dash. Rocket jumps up into Sorrow, and he'll be moving on his way. Chicken, not one to be deterred, and really doesn't want to lose this race. Is going to be racing the charge jump. Looks like Snoopy, unfortunately, had to take an extra energy because he did his rocket jump too early to be able to bait the frog shot. And he's also still taking a safety save. So unless I missed him grabbing the 5th energy cell, he'll actually not be able to do the rocket jump at the top. I hope he keeps that in mind.
Killed his frog by stomping accidentally.
Yeah, he did, and he'll
That's really unfortunate.
Reset that save, unfortunately, but not going to be too big of a time loss because he made that safety save, so I guess we see why he did. I hope he doesn't go for the rocket jump at the top because he'll find himself short on energy in a place where he really doesn't want to be.
The question is he aware of it, or in his mind did he just think, oh crap, I missed it, and didn't really register the energy usage? It's something that's, especially in the midst of a pretty important tournament race like this, it's just so easy to just rely on your to go to cruise control and just not think about it.
I have to imagine it's on his mind. He did pick up the energy that he needed, the extra energy from the crystal early, and yes, he'll be detouring to the left, grabbing charge jump before getting the Sunstone. This is not a bad idea at all. It is certainly something that can be done. It's actually in the intended order that you're supposed to pick these items up. And meanwhile, Chicken is continuing to race his way through Misty and looks pretty clean until that rocket jump. A little bit of a commentator's curse there, I think. And is holding a charge jump for a long time here, so we'll be seeing him do that momentarily. On the left, Snoopy has picked up the skill himself.
He has indeed. Not too much to say, Snoopy, because he got charge jump out of order. Now he's going to have to float to the top and take his level up, take the Sunstone, which he'll need to get into the final dungeon. It's, of course, quite a bit slower to float up this cavern. I just called it cavern, this column thing with the wind, with the spikes.
It's cavernous. I like it.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to stick with my guts. It's a cavern. And Snoopy has to float up it quite a bit slower than doing the rocket jump, and Chicken has a really, really sizable lead here, barring some pretty major mistakes. I was kind of going to say before, if there was probably, if I had to guess in advance, where's the most likely place that a runner's going to die and allow a change in lead like this, it's probably going to be Sorrow Pass, but Chicken had no problems with it.
Yeah, and Snoopy, I mean, he had that problem with the rocket jump, but he didn't actually take any bad deaths there. He had the one death to reset the frog. He mainly just had more difficulty with Sorrow Bash, so getting into Sorrow rather than Sorrow itself. Chicken, of course, has the potential to die in Misty here, but I imagine we'll be seeing some safety saves here. It is one of those areas that sometimes runners opt not for any saves in, but not something that I think we'll be seeing based on how these two have been playing so far. It looks like Chicken is actually about 10 seconds behind his PB. So, Grim, do you think he's still got the chance here with how much run is left?
I think he absolutely has a chance. He not only has a chance in terms of his time, but I've been seeing his movement become more confident. At least that's what it appears to me. He started this run just a little bit behind, a little bit sloppier than Snoopy. And even though I'm sure he's not aware that Snoopy took that early death and then some of the later deaths, he seems to be very confident. And even if Chicken Supreme doesn't have his full splits up, maybe he doesn't know exactly what pace he's on, he certainly knows that he's on good pace. That's something that is not hard to know as a runner.
Definitely. In the meantime, Snoopy's been making his way into Misty. He took a safety save at the beginning, but his play's been looking fairly clean, taking a nice little float instead of some dashes there to that first keystone, but not going to be too big of a deal for him. Chicken foregoing some of the slightly faster strats that can potentially get you killed, so I think he is pretty sure that he's doing well and wants to maintain that lead, and we'll be coming up to the mini-boss shortly. There are several quick kill methods to this mini-boss. Which one do you think we're going to be seeing here, Grim?
I'm not sure. I just want to really quick point out, look at his energy and health.
Oh, wow.
He only has one energy, which means that he can go for this strat, but he can't go for the charge dash strat. I wonder if he's aware of that. Wow. Okay, that's good.
Nicely done. He gets a nice one cycle there by using several charge jumps and charge flames, and he's now still sitting at 0 energy, which is not where you want to be exiting Misty, and Snoopy has made his way to climb very efficiently, so hopefully Chicken doesn't take a death here and have to be set back very far, because he can't make any safety saves until he gets some energy or makes his way all the way to the teleporter.
Yeah, Misty is scary for some of the same reasons that Sorrow Pass is scary. Is you can't make very many safety saves unless you manage your energy very, very precisely. So he's going to be a bit slow getting over here, but I mean, I'm pretty impressed actually that, oh no, Snoopy had a death on the right side.
Yeah,
that's going to set it back a little bit.
Yeah, taking that time loss there, unfortunately. But as you were alluding to, Chicken managed his way out of Misty very cleanly, despite not being able to charge dash, which is the normal method of getting out of there. So adapting very nicely there. And Snoopy opting not for a rocket jump off that frog the second time is going to be using nice little charge dash. Takes a lot of damage, though. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a safety save from him. And he does get it and rekindle it after picking up the energy. So nicely done from him. And Chicken, meanwhile, he's just flying through Blackroot Burrows on his way to Light Grenade.
I kind of get the impression that, and from what I know about Snoopy, it kind of looks like nerves are taking over. His movement is appearing far less confident. Chicken taking a pretty rough death there.
Into that laser.
Chicken has a good enough lead that I seriously doubt. Unfortunately for Snoopy, this lead is going to be very hard to come back from at this point, if it's even possible. He would need Chicken to have the 100th try door warp or something insane, but
yeah, it looks like Chicken's average for that trick too throughout this tournament has been about 3 attempts, so probably not going to be seeing the 100 from him.
I hope we never see the 100.
Hopefully he didn't level that up too early, but I think he's good. Should be skipping a cutscene with that ability point spent, and he does successfully. That would have been pretty much Snoopy's last chance to come back in this, barring some kind of disastrous events on the way to Horu. Meanwhile, Snoopy sitting at a little bit better health and energy count, I think, going for the Misty mini-boss as well. And ooh, he actually goes for Boom 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 after taking some dashes on the way in. That was interesting and almost worked out beautifully for him. He still had a pretty nice kill, though.
Very, very nice. When Chicken got to that mini-boss a little while ago, he actually took a safe strat, which was required given his health and energy. Snoopy, because he had the extra energy, was able to do a faster strat. It is not the fastest possible strat, but it's relatively easy to do and is very, very quick. And you kind of don't lose much if you accidentally mess it. Oh my god,
wow,
Chicken that laser
narrowly avoids death there. That was very, very concerning, I would say, to say the least. Looks like he will hopefully make his way out here, though. Oh, he has some trouble with some charge dashes and gets sent all the way back to that cutscene area. He's gonna have to wait on this laser again. And I mean, it's still not enough for Snoopy to come back, but if Chicken makes it a few more times, makes that mistake, that is, a few more times, Snoopy is on his way in the Blackroot Burrows now. Still has to pick up Light Grenade for himself, though, as you can tell from the skill wheel in the bottom right.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of runners opt to make a safety save just before this Indiana Jones section for precisely that reason. Is the jump to kind of get around. Looks like Chicken got it successfully the second time, so good job by him. But the jump that Chicken just made is a little bit more precise than it looks. It's easier to kind of jump over the little bramble wall and then jump up, but there's a giant boulder on your tail. Snoopy taking a nice adaptation on the right side of your screen, by the way, to avoid a pretty rough laser death. But Chicken is well on his way. Well on his way. At this point, it's probably safe to say that it's decided in Chicken's favor, barring some catastrophe.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Snoopy going to be skipping the cutscene that Chicken did earlier, does it beautifully, and will be making his way to Light Burst. We're coming up to Door Warp for Chicken, as we mention every time. This is a frame-perfect trick, and one that is definitely the enemy of every runner on a good run. And I know myself, I had 5 try door warp last night, so that's not something that you want to see. Chicken has had a 3 attempt average at it so far. The tournament average is just below that at 2.7, and we'll have to see how many it takes him here. I'm sure he's got to be hoping for 1 try here, because I'm not quite sure if he's still on PB pace, but he's definitely not far off and looking to improve his race average a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Nails it in 1 attempt. Beautiful from Chicken. We probably won't be seeing any fish strats coming in from him at the end of this race, so I think he's probably got this one in the bag. Just an escape from Mount Horu separates him and the victory now.
So the question is he on PB pace, and if so, by how much? We know that he was 10 seconds off his PB. I don't remember exactly where in the run.
Misty, yeah.
Misty?
Escaping Misty, but I don't believe... I think it's going to be hard for him after taking that death in
that's right.
Light Burst area, so not what you quite want to see.
Okay, so probably not a PB, but it'll still be a very, very clean run. He's not done yet. He still has to get through the rest of the escape, but this is pretty safely decided. This final escape sequence, another section that generally isn't problematic for runners. From a casual perspective, you die a lot of times. That's the way the game is designed, but from a speedrunning perspective, it's sort of like the Ginso escape. You just sort of do it. There aren't enemies in your way or anything like that.
Yeah, it looks like he, not opting for fish traps, will make his way to the end. And congratulations to Chicken Supreme taking that victory, and I believe locking in his 3rd seed position here, although I could be mistaken.
I'm going to actually check group standings right now.
Yeah, it could potentially still be up to Snoopy to try to upset Staffu in his last match of the group. But meanwhile, Chicken taking a nice victory there. Snoopy's going to take his attempt at door warp now. Looks like his last race, the only one he's had so far in the tournament, took him 4 attempts. We'll definitely want to be seeing something a lot shorter than that from him here. I believe he's very close to PB pace now, if not quite getting it. Fortunately, not going to be the first attempt. Not going to be the second attempt. Grim, you want to give me the quick rundown how many you think it's going to be? I hope you said 3, because it was 3.
Let's just say that I was definitely going to say 3.
Of course.
And I'm not just saying that because that's what the answer was.
Of course. Looks like Snoopy on his way to the escape now. One kind of cool thing to note about Chicken's run here, I mean, he performed very fantastically. He's coming very close to his PB. And he also got first try Grotto Skip, Kuro Cutscene Skip, Sorrow Bash, and Door Warp in this race.
That's insane.
All 4 really, really stressful tricks that he goes for, he got first try. So he's got to be very happy with that performance.
By the way, I want to make an interesting comment. I have up the group list here. Chicken, again, congrats to him, and not to kind of detract from Snoopy as he's finishing up his run here, but looking at the group standings, Hobbs, you're in this group. You're already 3-0, so you have successfully locked in your first place finish in your group. Chicken currently he was at 0 at 2. Now he'll be at 1 and 2, right? Snoopy, this is his 2nd tournament match. He has his match against Staffu coming up in I think on Saturday this week. So this will also put him at 0 and 2, and Staffu is currently at 1 and 1, which means that if Snoopy could upset Staffu, we will have you at the top and then 3 other runners all at 1 and 2.
Oh wow! So that'll just be
no. I can't do math. Snoopy would be 2-1. Forget what I said. If Snoopy beats Staffu, we could have a tie for 3rd and 4th place.
No, Snoopy would be 1 and 2. You were right. Yeah, you were right. We'd have 3 1 and 2s.
Oh no, I was right the first time. Never mind.
Yes. You got to be confident.
You can't expect me to add together numbers like 1 and 2. That's far beyond my skill set.
Yeah, but it will be interesting. We'll have to figure out the math on the tiebreakers there, because I believe everyone will have kind of beat everybody else in a circular formation. So it'll probably come down to race averages at that point. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Snoopy has finished his escape sequence. His timer doesn't stop until he loses control of Naru on his final input, but he's just about done. At the time you get out of the final escape, you just need to hold right, and then you're done. So Snoopy is not going to be on PB pace, but he will be within a minute of his PB. So that's still a very, very respectable run. I'm sure that he will be, frustrated with some of the mistakes he made, but objectively, to be within a minute of your PB is a very, very respectable thing to do in a race like this.
Yeah, and it won't be hurting his average too much. On the other side, Chicken finished out with a 39.03, coming in with pretty similarly, just barely a minute over his PB. Looks like Snoopy not quite finishing that timer, but I think it looked about a 41:10 or 41:09. So Snoopy, again, about a minute within his PB as well. And both these runners putting on pretty much exactly the kinds of runs that we would expect to see on average out of these tournaments. In fact, probably even better. Coming within a minute to two of your PB is certainly very nice to have in a race situation, and both runners have got to be fairly happy with that. Not sure why Snoopy didn't quite finish his timer there, but probably some issues with the auto splitter or something.
Right. And to be extra clear, this should be an obvious statement, but the fact that Snoopy's timer is still running, that's just, like Hobbs said, an artifact of his auto splitter didn't quite function correctly, or it didn't have it set up correctly. Maybe he forgot to manually stop it, but that doesn't actually affect his race time. You know, we can just watch the video and figure out what his time was. It doesn't. He's not at a loss here.
Yeah, it looked like Snoopy, it was a 41:09, so that's what we'll be running with after we re-verify that.
Yeah, very understandably just thinking about the race he just did and not focusing so much on the timer since he knows that he's done.
Definitely. And with that race, you know, that gives Snoopy 2 races so far in the tournament, which gives us a little bit better idea of his average race time. And it really, Snoopy's looking pretty good for himself. I mean, he is the likely 4th seed coming out of this group. However, his average race time is way better than all of the other likely 4th seeds coming out of groups. So he will actually still be able to avoid the preliminary elimination round if he keeps up this kind of average. So he just needs to play pretty well the next race, and he could still be looking at a nicer spot in that bracket.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just for everyone's planning purposes, I suppose we have another Ori match coming right after this one, so don't go anywhere. But in terms of Snoopy has his next match coming up on Saturday, March 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So that's a few days from now. Snoopy will have a bit of time to sort of recuperate, practice a little bit, and just sort of mentally prepare for his last race of the group stage. But what do we have coming up next, Mr. Hobbs?
So coming up next, we have an excellent match between Terra21 and Skyfo, all the way from France. Terra's actually had 2 matches so far, and he did lose the first against Trojan Dude, which was a very close match. It was his first match of the tournament. If you missed it, I highly recommend checking out the VOD. He took his second match, though, and Skyfo has only had 1 match so far, and I believe lost that, but I unfortunately have the wrong document open. So I'm going to double check on that. But the interesting thing to note about these runners is that they both PB'd extremely recently. I think within a day, if I'm not mistaken. Terra PB'd yesterday, getting a 33:05, and Skyfo got a new personal best this morning with getting his first sub 40 time. So very exciting for both these runners right now in terms of where their skill level is at. And it's unfortunately not going to be the closest of races that we're expecting here. However, it is still going to be a very interesting race individually from each runner. And you never know, something could happen. Terra could have some disastrous, attempts at Sorrow Bash or something, and Skyfo could just have an unbelievable run, and we could see an upset here.
It is certainly possible. Unlikely, whereas in this last match we had about a 3-minute difference roughly in the PBs of the runners. Of course, PBs, they matter sort of for your planning purposes going in, but anything could happen in the race. In this one, Terra's PB is about 6.5 minutes faster than Sky, so Sky has a pretty difficult task ahead of him.
Definitely, but he's coming in with that confidence of the PB earlier today, and hopefully that can help him put on a really great performance. In the meantime, while we wait here, we're ahead of schedule a little bit. We're going to wait about 12 minutes for our next match to start, and us commentators need to rest those voices because you're going to be hearing Grim and I for the next match as well. We're going to take a short little break here and play some music for you. I encourage you to use that time to grab a snack, grab some water, follow Speed Gaming, please, because they've been unbelievably amazing to us throughout this tournament. And we'll catch you in just about 8 minutes or so, I would guess.
See you guys soon.